Italy's business outlook improved more sharply than that of any other country in the 4 months to June, according to a global survey released today, which offers signs of hope for the country's struggling economy. In terms of individual stocks, British software business Micro Focus slipped 5% after its executive chairman sold £11.6 million in shares. Of course, all eyes are in China as data shows the economy is slowing. But Juliana Olanka, my colleague, will tell us more from our London studio. Hello, Juliana. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you too, Chime.
So how are the markets in London reading China's quarterly data?
Well, it's strange, really. I don't want to echo too much of what my colleague Daniel has been saying in Frankfurt, but certainly in London, the Chinese data is seen as quite reassuring. Of course, yes, growth has stalled for the lowest it's been in 27 years. But then in some of the data, we're seeing that there are, improvements. For example, in retail sales are up, in domestic consumption sales are also up. Of course, if you are just going to follow the sentiment from Donald Trump, he's been tweeting today that the sales and the growth are down purely because of the tariff and the trade wars. But clearly, that's just one piece of a very complicated puzzle. We know that Xi Jinping is very much focused on domestic consumption in China. As exports fall, it's been very difficult for them to keep up with India and the Japanese and the Singapore as they increase their workers' pay. But here it seems to be that they're pretty okay with those figures. At intraday, the all share is up 0.17%, the FTSE 100 is up 0.16%, and the FTSE 250 is also up 0.21%. In currencies, not a great day for the British pound, down on the US dollar by 0.25%. Down on the euro by 0.30% and down on the Japanese yen today by 0.24%.
All right, we're getting very interesting numbers from the European low-cost carrier Vueling. According to reports, Vueling is the most delayed airline in the UK. Why is this happening?
Well, yes, disappointing statistics here that have been compiled by the Press Association. Vueling, the Spanish airline, has shown that it is the most delayed airline in the UK, closely followed by Thomas Cook, which, of course, is not good for Thomas Cook. Their shares slumped by 11% last week when we heard that they were getting that takeover by Chinese investors. But, Vueling have been speaking today and they said that it's not necessarily their fault. There have been several severe strikes in France, and because of that, a lot of airlines that are flying through the UK are having to go through different routes. Also, as well, there have been delays with baggage, and they say that's more to do with Heathrow and other carriers that are taking their planes, but very not good at all, I would say, for airlines, because we've seen the smaller airlines really struggle because of Brexit.
And, well, of course, the week has just started. What should we expect from the UK market space this week?
Well, it's quite a busy week in the UK. Of course, we can't forget that there is a leadership race, and the no Brexit terms have got markets and traders really on the edge of their seat, waiting to see who does indeed become the next prime minister. But then we've also got the major rival mining firms delivering on Thursday. We're expecting good reports from Anglo and other mining firms that will be releasing their data. We're also expecting EasyJet to release what they have been doing over the past few months, and they are the biggest of the small airlines. So we've got lots of data to be giving you throughout the week, Chimmy, and as soon as we have them, I'll be reporting straight to you.
Sure, let's get a tab. We'll keep a tab on those data as they come in. Thank you, Juliana.
Thank you, Chimmy.
And in Asia, Chinese stocks recovered from an earlier slip to finish Monday's trading higher following the release of GDP data showing that the Chinese economy grew at its slowest pace in at least 27 years. In Shanghai Composite, the Shanghai Composite added 0.4%, while the Shenzhen Composite gained 1%. Hong Kong's Hang Seng added 0.22%. Elsewhere, South Korea's Kospi ended the trading day in Seoul 0.2% lower. In Australia, the ASX 200 declined 0.65%. Markets in Japan are closed for a holiday. And in the U.S. stock index, futures were up in the morning as investors paused for breath following a record-setting performance on Wall Street last week and monitor Chinese economic data. Investors stateside will have an eye on developments in the U.S.-China trade war after reports made the rounds on Sunday that the U.S. may approve licenses for companies to restart new sales to Chinese telecommunication giant Huawei within 2 weeks. Markets will also be monitoring geopolitical developments after Iranian President Hassan Rouhani said Tehran is ready to hold talks with the U.S. if Washington lifts sanctions and returns to the 2015 nuclear deal it exited last year. And away from the equities market, they're back here. Nigeria's annual inflation fell by 11.22% in June. This is 0.18 percentage points lower than 11.4 rate recorded in May 2019. Our data released by the National Bureau of Statistics today shows that decreases were recorded in all divisions that yielded the headline index. On month-on-month basis, the headline index dropped by 1.07% in June, 0.04% rate lower than the rate recorded in May. The urban inflation rate came down to 11.61%, while the rural inflation rate reduced to 10.87%. The food index stood at 13.56% in June compared to 13.79% in May. And Zimbabwe's inflation rate almost doubled in June from the previous month. Annual inflation accelerated to 175.7% from 97.9%. Prices rose 39.3% in the month. Zimbabwe has gone from deflation to triple-digit inflation in less than 3 years. Zimbabwe's treasury expects changes to the country's multi-currency system that were announced last month will help rein in inflation later in the year. Finance Minister said he expects inflation to be below 10% by the end of the year. Meanwhile, the country's energy regulator has raised petrol and diesel prices by up to 16%, the fourth increase this year after the finance minister said fuel was considerably cheaper than in neighboring countries. We'll take a break, and when we come back, we will take a peep into the global oil market. Just stay with us.